We are surrounded by some incredible art right now.
And you know what? I think
sorry, I'm sitting beside some
you
incredible
are.
art.
Almost by osmosis, I feel smarter and more intellectual. But here to tell us more about his wonderful work, wait until you see it, is the artist himself, Michael Abraham. Michael, how are you?
Very good,
How are
thank
you?
you. Thank you for having me. I'm good.
I think Mike and I was talking about it's the most impossible thing on the planet to talk about art. But maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you began to be a painter.
What happened to me was I had a dad who had a bookshelf with tons of architecture books and art books, and just used to stare at these books on a Saturday afternoon when nothing was happening in the neighborhood, and just fell in love with images and a lot of old master paintings, and wanted to learn how to do what these people did.
Right.
I wanted to learn how to draw and create illusion and depth. And
Is it a form of perfectionism, a little bit, sometimes being a really good artist? You know what I mean? Like, to never have it quite good enough?
yeah, I think I can paint a hand. I think a lot of people leave things. For me, I'm a bit. My wife says I have a great sense of humor, except when it comes to my art. I can't leave something until it is just right. So I may be up till 6 or 8 in the morning.
Yeah. Well, how do you know, as
painting.
an artist, when one of these paintings is complete?
Do you ever? Yeah.
When something doesn't jump out at you, it's like knowing when a song is right, or
Right. The flaws stop coming out at you.
basically, yeah. You just keep working and willing something until it resolves itself.
Well, one of the things that we all loved and resonated with us about your art when we saw it and we were reading about it is the fact that it is approachable, and you do sort of allow people to talk about what you're drawing, what you're painting, and all these other things. Is that part of your goal, especially when you're sort of naming your pieces and things like that?
I think titles are important. The art that I love has always been narrative art, and I love abstraction for understanding how to create certain sort of color feel things, but I love the narrative in art, and most of the art that I've liked from the past has been narrative art. A lot of art that I like is this sort of Christian, adoration of the Madonna, or adoration of the Virgin type
but it involves
thing, but
a story,
it involves
a time,
a story, a time, a place, and it's with my art you have a how do I say this? You just have a way of being able to create a narrative that if something's going on in the world and I'm sort of, oh my God, I deal with issues, I deal with relationship problems, I deal with business issues in my work, I deal with
a little bit of everything,
a little bit of everything, and having the ability to I mean, these are like props. The characters of my paintings are like props, and they do things, and they can say things, and that's.
How did you find your style? Because your work is obviously very distinctive with the images that we've just looked at and the pictures that you brought today. But how did you find the style that was right for you?
Basically, by wanting to learn how people created form and illusion and volume and space, my style evolved. I don't work from photos or from life. I just say, I want a guy doing this. I start willing to do that. It just evolved over time, the sort of smoothness. A lot of people paint and let the texture of the paint show up. I like my paintings to be the illusion, not the texture of the surface. And this is the style that's just evolved over time.
Can you explain the mean kid stepping on the rabbit?
Well, you know,
this is
Toby.
This is Toby. This is the bunny.
Toby, that's the guy that owns Toby.
SaveToby.com, man.
Yeah, I was on Jericho, and there was some, I guess, teenagers. I don't want to say teenagers because I don't want to be rude to teenagers. But there were some young people that got out of a car, and they were kicking this rabbit.
No, they weren't.
I was in shock when I first saw it. This has got to be 5 or 8 years ago. And it was twilight, and so I went home and did a little doodle. I was kind of upset about it. And pulled the sketch out of my sketchbook, 7 or 8 years later. Just thought it'd be an interesting idea to play with. And I could have painted a more sinister piece. But it's more like a man-child running after a bunny, so it explains the sort of evolution of the being. They're not quite an adult.
Yeah.
There's a consciousness, or maybe with this guy there's actually no consciousness evolved yet. Who knows, right?
And yet, I think with everyone, there's always, especially little boys, when they grow up, there's always that little core of cruelty that you have to investigate
ripping
a little
the wings
bit.
off
Not obviously kicking a rabbit, but
two little boys, and they're just discovering the tadpole tadpole in the
bucket. But it's interesting. I mean, it's like a human trait almost.
Now let's talk about this one here. This is one of my favorites. The other one is Armored Heart, which I think we breezed past earlier. But tell us about this one here.
Okay. Well, I started it when the Iraq invasion was happening, so I deal with serious issues in, I think, a lighter way. But I thought the purpose of a soldier, I think they try and sell the idea of doing what they do out of love for humanity or for
killing with love.
Well, it's just this whole, what do they believe that's going to make them go in and have the mindset to be able to do something? So I just
interesting. Tiptoe through the tulip.
And then I just sketch while I'm listening to the news.
And that's my favorite. Tell us about this guy.
This was actually sketched on the same day as the other heart piece, and it was the whole idea of the Homeland Security, you know, you're always trying to protect yourself, and it could be related to relationships, or it could be more of a global thing.
There's always that vulnerable part.
Nobody is untouchable in life, right? So this is what that to me expresses.
And the images behind you, I can't help but see some of you in them. Is that fair enough?
Only in the handsome ways, Michael.
Only in really handsome ways. Is there a little bit of you in your work?
I think they're all me to some extent. I don't use photos, and I don't draw from life, or I do everything from my head, but when I want to see what something looks like, I look in the mirror. So all the noses look like my nose, or kind of. Or now I'm starting to see my son's smile or my wife's smile is coming in some of the pieces. And
that's very funny. Are you surprised sometimes by the narratives that, or the stories that people give to your pieces that may not be your original intent?
It's fun, actually.
That must be one of the coolest aspects.
That's really neat. And the more ambiguous a painting is, the more people can read into it, and the more variety of thoughts they have to the work.
I think it shows that you sort of you left it open enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you didn't shut everything in there. You didn't give all the easy answers.
This is the one that I'm a little bit afraid of. This guy.
Yeah, this kind of freaks me out. This one
Can
too.
you tell us about Wasabi?
He's a man. He's a man.
I know he's a man. But he's eating a bowl
and
of
yet
wasabi.
there's your nose too,
There's
Michael.
my nose. Yeah, the ears. Actually, all the ears look like mine too. He's just sort of getting ready for his beautiful geisha lady to walk in the room. And I was going to call the piece Hello Kitty, and then I was going to call it Hot Stuff, and then I thought I'd just call it Wasabi in the end. It's just sort of a male posturing. And I got a friend that lives in Japan, and he says things about men in Japan, and I said it's no different here than there.
Yeah.
You know, you can change it to an Italian with a salami or Hungarian salami, or, you know.
This is one of your sculptures.
This is a sculpture I did that's in Victoria.
How often do you sculpt? Do you do
this?
This
is my first one. I had a man that actually bought the Armored Heart, and he loves my work, and he said, would you be interested in doing a sculpture for this building we own?
How was that?
Oh, it's fun. It was a steep learning curve. Did the whole design work on computer. My brother paints Porsches and airplanes, and so he said, "Oh yeah, we can do it."
Your brother does what?
Paint. He worked for Spar Aircraft. He paints like military aircraft and Porsches and stuff. So I said, "This is what I want to do," and he said, "Oh yeah, we can do it. I know these guys." And so I did a design on the computer, and I went, and I'm like, they have a machine that cuts out metal and stuff, and then I'm holding up these heavy fish, and
this will look good there.
This goes here, and that goes there, and it's 19 feet tall, so it's a big.
Well, and just the opportunity to work in 3D must be kind of cool
totally
too.
Fun. I do it if somebody asks. There's lots of nice buildings in Vancouver. If anybody wants me to.
One more painting that I wanted to ask about is the one that's right behind you. Tell us a little bit about this guy.
You know, a lot of artists are flaky.
Are they?
I had a show called The Other Side, so it's kind of two sides of things. And I think a lot of people think artists are flaky or ethereal or not quite grounded. So I'm just playing with the idea of this flaky artist.
He's an artist.
Yeah, he's an artist thing. And he's painting the way he sees the world, you know. So he's painting a guy, a patron who's basically painting as a butt, you know. And he's just going to... He's eyeing where the little hole is going to go.
Not a dig at any of your patrons.
It's making light
right
art,
in the center of the forehead, I think.
There's one artist I love from the 18th century, or 19th century, I guess, is Ingres, and he painted Napoleon, and it's just this most ornate costume, and it's Napoleon all. And I'm sure if he wanted to paint Napoleon the way he really saw him, he'd paint him as this little weaselly.
How he really saw him,
you know, power trip and whatever he may have been, you know, control.
Well, the touch of this style of painting, your style of painting, I think the narrative is to have those little sort of treasures in there almost, you know what I mean? So that when someone's living, perfect, the nerd term, but someone's living with a work of art, and there's always something more to take out of it, you know what I mean?
So,
like you always find that.
And there's a decorative level, and there's a concept level that people get.
Very cool. Well, I can't say enough about
Thank you so much, Michael. Your stuff is beautiful, and it is available at Gallery Jones on West 3rd and Burrard if you want to check it out, or perhaps buy a piece or two.
Yeah, very nice. 1725 West 3rd is where you can find Gallery Jones. You can check out a couple of websites, michaelabraham.com and also galleryjones.com for more information. Michael, thank you so much. Real pleasure, and thanks for bringing all your pieces.
Thank you so much, Michael.
We're going to take a break, and when we come